What if I told you that the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now, that it's not the economy, that the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now is not the amount of money that's in your bank account, that the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now is not the amount of education that you have. The biggest obstacle that you're facing right now has nothing to do with your contacts. It has nothing to do with missed opportunities. That the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now is who? It's you. Yeah, it's you. And we don't always want to hear that. No, we don't want to believe that even though we set our goals, that oftentimes that we work against ourselves to accomplish goals. We don't want to believe that even though we say to ourselves that we want to lose weight, that oftentimes we work against ourselves and ensure that we don't lose that weight. We don't want to believe that even when we say that I want to grow my business, I want to take my business to the next level, that oftentimes we do the exact opposite of what's required to grow our business and take it to the next level. That even though we say that we want to create some financial freedom, that oftentimes we engage in activities that keep us absorbed in debt, that keep us in financial strain, even though we say to ourselves that we want to accomplish our goals and our dreams, that oftentimes that we engage in activities that take us in the opposite direction of our dreams. No, we don't want to believe that. And oftentimes, unfortunately, we're not even aware of it. We don't even know when we're doing it. Yeah, there's fancy terms for it. They call it self-sabotage. Yeah, that we don't understand that oftentimes that the biggest obstacle that we'll ever have to face, the biggest challenge that we'll have to ever overcome is ourselves. And so I want you to look at your life right now. And I want you to think about some things that you've been looking to accomplish, that you've been meaning to accomplish, that you know in your heart that you need to accomplish. And I want you to go with me on this journey and ask yourself the question that, is there any place right now that maybe perhaps that I'm getting in my own way? Is there any place right now that I'm selling myself short? Is there any place right now where life and opportunity has yielded to me, but I failed to take the first step, that I failed to meet the opportunity. I failed to take that path. I failed to take action because I talked myself out of it. And when I say that, I think about something so simple that happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and it agitated me, it frustrated me, because I knew that it meant so much more than what had transpired, that what I saw in this young man was something that I know that at times have been in me. There's things that I know that as I look around at my friends and my family and people that I know and coaching clients and people that I know that are looking to accomplish their goals and their dreams, that we all at some point have had life yield to us and we failed to take the step. We've had life yield to us and present us with an opportunity, and we failed to move forward because we talked ourselves out of it. And so it was just a couple of weeks ago, I was at my house, and I had gotten dressed, and I was headed on my way out to an appointment, and as every time as I drive out of my community, with the entrance to my community leads out to a major road. And naturally, there's a stop sign before you can turn on to that major road. And oftentimes, because there's this sidewalk, that there's people who are riding their bicycles, or they're going for a jog, or they're speed walking. And so I know to be extra cautious when I get to that particular stop signal. And here I am. I'm at the stop sign. And I'm getting ready to turn out of my complex, out of my subdivision, and go out onto the main road. And right when I get there to that stop sign, there's a young man who's right about to cross my path, who naturally has the right of way. And so I stop. And we make eye contact. And as soon as I make eye contact with this guy, I look at him and I give him the signal. We've all done it before. The person's there. You give him the signal, go ahead and cross. And so I give him the signal. I see you, go ahead and cross. And so I give him the signal to go ahead and cross. And he looks back at me and he goes, "No, you go." And I've been in those situations. I think we've all been in a situation where you yielded to someone and they yielded back to you. And so once again, naturally, I'm in no rush. And this guy's a pedestrian. He has the right of way. So once again, naturally, I yield to him and I tell him, "Go ahead and go." And once again, he yields back to me. And so because this is happening, I start looking at him and I realize that he's not someone who lives in the area. And the reason why I know this is because of the fact the way he's dressed. I see he has slacks on. He has a full button-up shirt. He's also wearing a tie, and in his hand is a folder that's folded up. And it just so happened that earlier in the week that I saw a white van riding around in the neighborhood, and I know that typically every once in a while a white van would drop some young people off in anywhere between the age of 18 to about 25 who are part of these things called magazine crews. And unfortunately, these magazine crews, they target individuals that are struggling, individuals that haven't been able to find opportunities, and they give them promises of how they're going to travel and make money, and they take them to a different state, drop them off, and many of them go door to door all day long. And unfortunately, they don't make very much money. Unfortunately, many of the promises that were given to them aren't met. And as soon as I started to take a better look at this young man, I knew that he was part of one of these magazine crews. I knew that he's one of the individuals that I'd seen that was walking around the neighborhood and knocking door to door. And so once again, I looked at him and I said, "You go ahead and go." And he looked at me, but this time he was frustrated. And this time he gave me a look. He gave me a look as if I was not yielding to him. He gave me a look. For a moment, I thought I was his enemy, and he gave me the look that pretty much let me know there's no way I'm walking in front of your car. And so I got tired of waiting. And so I drove off. And as I was driving, I found myself getting frustrated because I couldn't understand what happened. I couldn't understand the exchange that had just taken place. All I was trying to do was allow this guy who had the right to pass my way. I was just giving him the opportunity to just go ahead and cross. And he refused to act on the opportunity. And so I couldn't resist. It was agitating me so much. And so I pulled up where this young man was walking, and I put my window down. And I called him over to my car, and he started walking over. You could tell he had a little bit of attitude. And I said, "Hey man, what's going on, young man? I just wanted to allow you to go. I was just letting you. You're the pedestrian. You have the right of way. You know, you deserve the respect. I just was trying to let you go." And he says, "Nah, I'm okay." I said, "Well, all I was trying to do was let you go." And then he immediately started making references to what he saw. He was like, well, you're the one who's nicely dressed. You're the one that's driving such and such truck. You're the one who's sitting in your car with the AC. No, you go. You've got the right to go. I'm just around here walking and trying to make some sales." And you could tell that this guy, he had gone through some experiences. You can tell that this young man, that even though I was yielding to him, even though I was giving him an opportunity to take the right of way, even though I was giving him the right of way, he didn't feel as if he deserved it. And so here's what I say to you. At what point has life maybe yielded to you where you were presented with an opportunity and you didn't act on that opportunity because maybe perhaps you didn't think that you deserve it? Or at what point did life yield to you and you had an opportunity to talk to somebody about your business, but you just made the assumption that maybe that they weren't going to want to join you in your business opportunity? At what point did the life yield to you and you got presented with an opportunity and you said to yourself that, no, I can't apply for that job, even though my friend called me up and told me to apply? Why? Because I'm not qualified. At what point did life yield to you and you got presented with a business opportunity and you said to yourself and you talked yourself out of it? You said, I don't have the experience. I don't have what it takes. At what point did life yield to you and you didn't take that step? No. You talked yourself out of it. Maybe you didn't even realize that you did. You came up with some fancy excuses about how you didn't have the time. Or you made the excuses up for somebody else on how they most likely would not want to get involved with your business opportunity, even though you didn't talk to them about it. Or you made up something like that I can't do this right now because I'm too old. It's past my time. Or you convince yourself that, no, I can't charge that. No one's going to pay. Or at some point, life yielded to you and you had an opportunity to pursue your goal and write that book or have an opportunity to speak in front of an audience, and you convinced yourself that no one would be interested in reading your book, so you decided not to write it, or you convinced yourself that it wasn't worth you standing up and using your voice because you didn't think that anybody was willing to listen, or you had an opportunity to talk to someone that was successful, that was influential, that you can talk to them about your business opportunity, but you convinced yourself that they probably weren't interested. At what point did life yield to you and you decide not to move? Yeah, you talked yourself out of it. And as I drove away, I was a little frustrated because I felt like the conversation that I had with that young man, I felt like it went nowhere. And after being frustrated, I started to reflect on my own life, and I thought about times in my life that I got in my own way. And I thought about one particular time that stuck out to me. I remember when I was having some success and investing in real estate, and I had carved out my own particular niche, and I was doing some seminars and workshops, and I started to develop product, and there's one particular product that I spent about a couple of months developing, and I made sure to think about all the things that I went through, all the things that I had to learn, and some of the costly mistakes that I made, and I thought about all the seminars and workshops that I went to, and I took out all these different materials, and I thought about what's some of the information that other people failed to include. What's some of the information that I wish they would have simplified. And I spent all this time, this effort, and I created this product with multiple CDs and a workbook, and finally I packaged this product, and then I priced it. And I remember going to a particular event, and I was speaking to a gentleman at the time who was my mentor at the time. He was an official, an informal mentor. And I gave him my material, and he took a look at it. He said, Andy, this stuff looks great. And he said, well, what are you going to charge for it? What are you going to charge? And then I told him. And the look on his face, he gave me a look of disgust. And I couldn't understand why he was looking at me like that. And I said, well, what's the matter? He said, why would you charge that? And I said, well, what, do you think it's too much? He said, no, you're not charging enough. And he said, well, why would you package this type of information that you've spent so much time to put together, this type of information that's made you thousands of dollars, this type of information that you've gone to workshops and seminars and paid for flights and spent thousands of dollars to get and acquire this type of information? Why would you take the time and package this type of information and put a value that low on it? And so I felt cornered. And so I started coming up with some good excuses. I said, I said, I didn't want to charge a lot because I want to help people. You know, I'm just looking to help. He said, well, that doesn't make sense, Andy. So he said, let me ask you a question. So if you charge more for this, you won't be helping people? And I said, no, well, I don't mean that. He's like, well, then that doesn't make sense. If you charge more, would that keep you from helping people? I said, no. He said, have you paid more for other products that had less information? And when you did that, did you benefit? I said, yes. And so this information, would you say that some of the information you paid more for, that you've put more in this than what you've got in those other products? Yes. So why would you price it at that point? I said, well, you know, I don't necessarily want to charge like the other guys. You know, some of the guys, you know, they charge way too much. Well, wait a second. No one's telling you to charge too much, Andy. But he's saying, is this the value that you're putting on this information? This information that can transform somebody's life, this information that can make someone thousands of dollars, this is the value that you're putting on this information. Is this what you think this information is worth? I said, no. He said, well, then why would you price it at that? I said, I don't know. And so when I left him and I was alone, I started giving some thought. And what I realized is that I was making a bunch of excuses. And the real reason why I had priced it so low, the real reason why I wasn't charging more, the real reason why I didn't put the value on that product like I should have was because at that time, I didn't think I deserved it. At that time, I had a limited vision of myself. At that time, I hadn't charged for my information, and I didn't know what was the value of what I had in my hand. I didn't think that I was worth it. And what I realize is that can happen to all of us. That we get in certain places in our lives where we want to accomplish our goals and our dreams. And instead of working towards those goals and our dreams, that we start making excuses like I'm too old, excuses like I don't have the right degrees, excuses like I don't have the right contacts, excuses like I don't have the right amount of money in my bank account, excuses like, well, right now I've got to wait till the kids get older, or excuses that maybe if only I was younger. And we start making excuses like, well, if only I had skills like that person, if only I can talk like that person, if only I had the contacts like that person. And all these things that we start creating in our minds are just simply excuses that we're putting out there because we don't believe that we deserve it. That we don't believe that we can have that level of success. That we don't believe that we should write that book. That we don't believe that we should be debt-free. That we don't believe that we should really, truly lose this weight. So we start making excuses. We start talking ourselves out of it. That's why in the old African proverb, they say, if there's no enemy within, then the enemy outside can do us no harm. The biggest battle that you'll ever have to win, the biggest adversary that you'll ever have to overcome is you. It's you, that you are in your own way. And so here's what I challenge you to do. I want you right now to look at your life. And I want you to think about some areas in your life in which you know that you've been consistently coming up short. that you've been consistently coming up short when it comes to your finances, that maybe you've been consistently coming up short when it comes to your health and losing the weight. You've been consistently coming up short when it's been in pursuit of your goals and your dreams. You've been consistently coming up short when it comes to growing your business. You've been consistently coming up short when you've been trying to accomplish your goals and your dreams. Identify those areas. And then this is the part right now. This is the time that this takes some what I call some sober self-assessment. Right? And once you've identified those areas, you've got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself the question, how have I possibly been selling myself short? How have I possibly been getting in my own way? How have I possibly been taking steps to ensure that I don't lose this weight? How have I been taking steps to ensure that I don't get out of debt? How have I been taking steps to ensure that I don't grow my business? How have I been taking steps to ensure that I don't launch my speaking career? How have I been taking steps to ensure that I don't write this book? How have I been taking steps to ensure that I don't accomplish my goals and my dreams? How am I working against myself? How am I in my own way? And once you identify where you're working against yourself instead of helping yourself, once you identify that it's not the circumstances, but it's how you show up, once you identify that every time that you find yourself in a healthy relationship, that you start finding a way to create friction and start arguments and find a way to walk away from the relationship. Once you realize that as soon as you start making some income and generating income and things are going well, you find a way to stop applying the same amount of effort. You find a way to make some poor financial decisions, to get back on the race and trying to get out of debt. Once you realize that you keep saying to yourself that I'm trying to grow the business, and every opportunity you have to attend a seminar, to attend a workshop, to get coaching, to speak to somebody who's successful and talk to them about your business, that you keep punking yourself out, that you keep becoming fearful, that you avoid having the conversation, that you come up with reasons why you can't afford the coaching, that you come up with reasons why you can't go to the seminar, why you can't go to the workshop. Once you start figuring out why and how you keep showing up in a way that's not helping yourself out, and how you're working against yourself, that you got to make the conscious decision that you got to turn some things around. And you got to make some conscious decisions. Once you become aware and understand that it's not the circumstances, it's not my experience, it's not the bank account, it's not what's going on in the economy. No, it's me, that you've got to make the conscious decision. Now, I'm going to identify the times in which I'm talking myself out of it. I'm going to identify the times in which I'm acting on fear and I'm not pushing forward. I'm going to identify the times that I'm finding reasons to avoid getting the coaching and the mentorship. That once you identify the times that you realize that I'm finding reasons to not go to the gym, reasons to continue to eat unhealthy. Once you identify the times that you know that you're avoiding reaching out and talking to the people that you know that you need to talk to. Once you identify that you know that you're not doing what you need to do by doing presentations and talking to the right people about your business. Once you identify the fact that you're not sitting down and writing and you keep avoiding doing the things that you have to do. Once you identify it, you've got to say to yourself that, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to start working for myself and not against myself. Now I'm going to start showing up differently. I'm going to stop making the excuses. I'm going to start charging what I know I'm worth. I'm going to start speaking to people and not making excuses about what it is that they're going to think about my business. I'm not making excuses on why they wouldn't be interested when I didn't even give them an opportunity to. I'm going to stop making excuses on why I shouldn't write my book, on why people aren't going to read my book when I haven't even given them an opportunity to. I'm going to stop making excuses about it's being too late in my life, that it's too early in my life, that I don't have the right credentials, that I don't have the right contacts. I'm just going to show up entirely different because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being in my own way. And so I told you at the beginning of this conversation, this is one of those things that it's difficult to grasp. It's hard to believe that you are your biggest adversary. It's hard to believe that you are getting in your own way. But if you can figure it out, if you can be honest with yourself, if you can identify those situations in which you're self-sabotaging yourself, and if you're willing to push forward, if you're willing to push through it, if you're willing to avoid getting in your own way, that you may just have a breakthrough. Yeah. This just might be your time where everything starts turning around. This has been Andy Henriquez reminding you to always show up for your life. Because if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, no one else will.